creator of the NRE brand, gives his insight and thoughts on the world of comic books, gaming, tech, and media industries as the host of Neo Reality Collective. Experience a slew of regular episodes covering news and pop culture, along with reviews and editorial pieces showcasing the best and worst of our ever-expanding multimedia world.
After several months away, I'm back. Probably wondering why I was gone. So I was depressed again. I had gotten sick. Let's see. I wanted to end this year on a high note last year, but then everything just piled on at work with the holiday shoppings and all that. So it was not a good time to be a commissary worker. And it was a chaotic time, like panic buying left and right. Then we had more panic buying when they were hearing about snow. I started getting back into content making a bit by bit when 2024 started. Still on the up and up of that, but now we're back. Hopefully things are stabilizing after all this time. And big news happened throughout the month of January. And one of them was that DC Studios, the James Gunn DCU coming out with Peter Safran, it has now found its Woman of Steel. The Girl of Steel, Supergirl, is now going to be played by Emilia I tried to get this name right. Okay, basically the young Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen from the House of the Dragon. She beat out Coda actress Emilia Jones and Meg Dolly, the latter who voiced Supergirl in such animated projects such as Legion of Superheroes and Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. Which, if that was indeed the case, if they had casted Meg Dolly, I would have said, okay, now they could just synchronize the animated universe and kill off that universe in the Crisis 3-parter event that they're doing, and use that as a launching on point for the James Gunn Peter Safran DCU. But yeah, the Realm's Delight is now going to play the Girl of Steel, and when I heard this, I was ecstatic. Like, she might not look it right now. She might still have to she might have to start prepping herself for the role, but when I heard her, I was like, okay, so who's next going to be cast? Is it going to be that other guy who may or may not who might play Brainiac 5 and go on a revenge murderous psychopathic spree because Supergirl goes back to her present timeline? And I'm not just saying, and I'm saying that for funsies, and also because there was a rumor that she was actually dating the actor who played Sir Christian Cole during the House of the Dragon season 1. I don't know if that was true. There was just rumors at the time I was hearing, but I never commented about it till recently. But yeah. Apparently, Gunn said at the time of the announcement, in our series, we see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, who was raised on a rock, a chip off Krypton, watch everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life. Then came to Earth when she was a young girl. She's much more hardcore. She's not exactly the Supergirl we're used to seeing. So it was announced that it's going to be based off Tom King's 2022 comic book series Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which got a lot of critical acclaim, which is saying a lot about Tom King's, he either does great works or pisses everybody off. And he's also in the writer's room for the DC universe. So with that whole thing going on, I'm curious to know, I'm curious to know how she'll fit into the role, and I'm curious, and I don't know if she's going to show up in Superman Man of Tomorrow, not Man of Tomorrow for some reason, I just said Man of Tomorrow for some reason, Superman Legacy. I'm curious if they're going to if she's going to show up in that, or in a post-credit scene, and I'm not 100% certain on that. I'm hoping that they don't do it right away. They just tease it with a comment from a character, and then they'll showcase her in the movies. And from what I was reading from other reports is that, yeah, this Supergirl is going to be a lot more darker than the Supergirl we're used to seeing, or even the Tomorrowverse's Supergirl. But yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with this. I am, and they have not attached a director or writer just yet, and yeah. So one of the other things that was mentioned, that here's the thing. Superman Legacy is about to start production soon in Georgia, but that's not 100% certain if that will guarantee Supergirl's appearance. But Deadline reported that what we know that she'll appear in a DC-based project before starring in her solo feature. Like they said, Deadline reported this, and yeah, Amelia is going, I hope, does awesome. She was great as the young Rhaenyra Targaryen. That was my first exposure to her on seeing her in TV. Let's just hope it doesn't end as bad as Rhaenyra, because oh boy. Meanwhile, Riot Games lays off 530 people, aka 11% of its staff, and axes the Riot Forge label. Yeah. So they had announced on their site saying, today we're a company without sharp enough focus, and simply put, we have too many things underway. Some of the significant investments we've made aren't paying off the way we expected them to. Our costs have grown to the point that where they're unsustainable, and we've left ourselves with no room for experimentation or failure, which is vital to a creative company like ours. All this puts the core of our business at risk. Over the past several months, we've tried to alter the trajectory in many different ways. We asked leaders to make trade-offs in things their teams were working on. We rolled out hiring slowdowns, and in some cases, hiring freezes. We put emphasis on controlling costs while strengthening our revenue growth, all which has without a doubt been tough for our teams. But I've dug in with the leaders across Riot, and it's become clear that all of us of these changes aren't enough. We have to do more to focus on our business and center our efforts on the things that drive the most player value, the things that they are truly worth players' time. Unfortunately, that involves making changes in the area where we invest in the most, our headcount. So when I heard this, I was distraught for the employees. I hope they all land somewhere. But I found something out. One of my online buddies from my wrestling side of life, from ATW, Lex, he was part of the team at Riot Games, and he was also laid off. God damn it. So, yeah, we have so one of our buddies is out of a job. Well, he's already planning to land on his feet, especially with the resume he has grown accustomed to. So we'll see where that goes. But I'm hoping all the other employees get on their feet and get new employment. But it's going to be a tough time. The whole unsustainable growth of corporations, especially in the gaming industry, was honestly sadly expected in my eyes. In fact, I think Stephanie Sterling's going to say they called it because, well, they're the Cassandra of video games. And no one listens to the Cassandra of video games. Not only that, YouTube legend Mr. Beast, who is considered the scum of the earth because he does humanitarian works. And if you wonder why I say that, it's because people still hate him for reasons that make absolutely no sense if you think about it for more than a second. Even getting governments pissed off at him. So he is now reportedly getting a deal with Amazon Prime for a competition series that is worth $100 million. So, congratulations on that. And I also was thinking to myself, oh god, Amazon Prime's going to make their own Squid Game. My god. They're going to make their own Squid Game, and Mr. Beast is going to be the host, and there's going to be massive murdering and mayhem. And with that, I can do my segue. Because Squid Game Season 2 got a 2024 release window, along with a small little teaser on their page. And yeah, they have this big bold slate, and they have the Diplomat, Empress, Bridgerton, Squid Game, and potentially Stranger Things the finale season. And yeah, even they made the actual game show Squid Game called Squid Game the Game, or the competition. But yeah, about that series, yeah, they're still getting screwed over that because people horribly suffered in those events. Way to go. And Netflix continues to not only hype people up, but they also subsequently piss everyone off, because Netflix is also changing every single goddamn thing about the Avatar series. The Last Airbender one. So a few years back, they had the Avatar The Last Airbender getting a live action treatment, which is oh god. So Avatar The Last Airbender, that fun, sometimes intense at times, sometimes it got serious, but overall was a lighthearted, jovial adventure of Aang, and with a lot of good philosophy lessons and all these good ethical quandaries and spiritual guidance people can learn from, appealing to both kids and adults. Well, Netflix took that, looked at all that, and threw it out the window, because they're changing a bunch of stuff. They're going to change aspects of the character. They're going to remove certain big plot developments for character development growth, like Sokka's sexism in the first few episodes, which I must stress, they clearly did not read this, because it's like, you do know he wasn't always sexist after like a few episodes. He actually had a character arc. This isn't a case where they have sexism happening and they never address it. They addressed it in the first goddamn episode, and now you're saying that doesn't count. And they're even going ahead and cutting out certain events where where Aang won't be doing this, won't be doing that, because he'll be getting visions for some reason. That tells him he can't do that, because every episode I think there was like only one episode that was pointless, and that was the whole passing thing with the two families, the two groups that were hating each other. Like, that never got followed up on. That's the only really, quote, pointless episode. So, for a show that had a bunch of episodes, having just one that's more or less just a waste of time filler says a lot of how great the show was and how it got there. And how they also said, we need to also appeal to the Game of Thrones audience. And I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake. My response when I heard that was, okay, if you wanted to make a Game of Thrones-like series, why not just use Cyberpunk? Yeah, the Cyberpunk 2077. I actually looked into it. I delved into it. I was curious about the world of Cyberpunk, since they make mentions of certain stuff in the games that confused me. Like, wait, the Soviet Union still exists? Wait, what the hell is NUSA? Wait, there's a war in America, sort of, and there's been massive corporation wars. Like, wouldn't that make a Game of Thrones epic, but set in a cyberpunk dystopian world? Especially when you're being told, oh, the Soviet Union, yeah, they still exist. They're the superpower now. America's not even powerful anymore. They have went through a massive chain of political undertakings. They went through huge terrorist nuclear attacks. They went through a massive plague and disease. Oh, also, there was also a cabal of sorts running the country for a time, and then it caught the complete collapse of the original United States of America, and led to basically the endless wars in Central and South America. Doesn't that not sound awesome to make a Game of Thrones series? So yeah, that was my take on that whole thing. Like, why are you trying to make Netflix? Why is Netflix trying to make this whole thing with the Avatar series, trying to get rid of everything that made it, well, so unique? Man, I can see why the creators left the show. We all heard the story, and we didn't listen. We didn't listen. Oh, and Netflix is also phasing out its basic plan, but who cares about that at this point? Netflix would have price increased it to the hells. So, I never talked about this particular game. Never talked about it. The day before. Oh, what a day. What a wonderful day. What a wonderful day that was during that period of time. The day before being this massive scam of a game, screwing people over big time, and you're left wondering to yourself, how the fuck did this happen? Well, according to Fntastic Games, they got rid of the A in A and FANTASTIC, so naturally they're good with the grammatical checks. They plan to close their doors just a few days after the day before launched, on December 7th, and then talked about the, quote, misinformation published in the online surrounding the game's development, and they say they were suffering from a hate campaign and gaslit everybody, saying it's your fault we failed. It's your fault we sucked. It's your fault we tried to take the money and run. It's your fault we did this. It's your fault we did a bunch of asset flips to the extreme. Wait. IGN gave it a rare 1 out of 10. That tells you everything. And then they talk about after the sales closed, many people wrote to them and said that bloggers had deceived them and they liked the game and they asked for access. What the actual hell? Like, okay, prove it. Show me your data. Show me your data. No, you're not gonna give me data? Alright, like, do we have, like, actual quotes we can work with? And then they talk about the black market and the game's price exceeding $200, and some even began to make their own mods, and it's like, okay, cool, but, like, can I get the data? Can I see that? I can believe the black market stuff and how, because you're now a rare game on the run, but you shut down the online service, so no one cares. Meanwhile, another big game that people were on the up and up about if this is an AI scam or some BS. Palworld, the Defiance, the Edge Extreme of Pokemon. Remember that? Well, Palworld is burning everything that Pokemon built by becoming the new competition. It's on Xbox Game Pass. It's on for compared to modern AAA games, dirt cheap on Steam. Nexus Mods had to come out and make a statement saying, we are not hosting Pokemon mods, mostly because Nintendo will kill us. They'll send out the ninjas and kill us. So, and they even call it out. They say this, as you may know, Nintendo, who jointly own the Pokemon franchise, have a consistent record of maliciously submitting legal challenges, DMCAs, and takedowns against fan-made content. Given Palworld's similarities to the Pokemon franchise as a base game, hosting content that adds copyrighted characters and assets is almost certainly going to put us at risk of legal action. And yeah, there was even a eye-catching Pokemon mod, and they moved to take it down, and the people who made Palworld got death threats for calling it a Pokemon ripoff. And I'm just like, God. In fact, I knew Nintendo was going to do something eventually. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo really do send out their own secret organization of ninjas. We'll call them the Hand. They'll send out the Hand to come out and kick their asses and slice their throats in order to go ahead and say, how this is the honor of Nintendo. And the tyranny. Or the Nintendo tactics, as James Stephanie Sterling called them. Speaking of the Hand, so Daredevil Born Again has had a largely difficult production, mostly because certain people will go ahead and say things about insanity and think of brilliant ideas like killing off Foggy Nelson, Karen Page in the off-screen dimension. So, yeah. During COVID, they announced this, and then they announced that they were retooling everything, and they were re-overhauling everything, and rewriting everything, and even got new hirings, and got rid of a bunch of other people fired. One of the reports came out that this was Daredevil Born Again was originally more or less a penned reboot, and would ignore the Netflix MCU continuity, because that makes sense. And they decided, okay, you're right. That was stupid of us. Let's put the Netflix continuity back in. Let's put it back in, everybody. You're back. And Foggy Nelson and Karen Page's actors are coming back to reprise their roles. Eldon Henson and Deborah Ann Wall is coming back to play Foggy Nelson and Karen Page respectively. And yeah, and even on Disney Plus, it re-put the Netflix MCU shows into the MCU timeline playlist, showcasing everything going on. They're bringing back Wilson Fisk more. They're bringing back Frank Castle, the Punisher. Could Rosario Dawson come back as Claire Temple, assuming she's not off busy in the other galaxy, in the galaxy far, far away? Spoilers, I know. But yeah. I was excited. Not only are they coming back, but Wilson Bethel's Bullseye is coming back, who appeared in season 4. No, wait, season 3. I kept thinking there was a season 4. More or less, Daredevil Born Again is going to be season 4. So, yeah. That was awesome. Seeing these guys coming back, this is truly Born Again. The band is back together. Yeah. So while TV content for Daredevil Born Again is thriving, Final Fantasy XIV's live-action TV show is dead due to all the ambitiousness of it and the scale alongside complications caused by COVID. So yeah, the project was canceled. They announced it on Twitter. This comes almost 5 years after it was announced as a project between Hive Mind and Sony Pictures Television. And they just said, it's dead. We took around a fantastic pilot script along with a multi-season plan they built with our showrunners, but got rejected across the board. The size and scale needed to do it right proved too much for anyone to risk it. Amazon came closest. It was a real result of COVID-19. Unfortunately, we took it out just as the studios began to zip up their purse strings. Yeah, I probably should have waited till after. So that has gone on. Sucks for Final Fantasy XIV. They can't catch a break. But we'll see where that goes. And I'm excited for all the other stuff regarding this. And there's even been more MCU news going on. Like Deadpool 3 has wrapped filming. And Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman shared their heartfelt messages. And Ryan Reynolds came out and said this: the suit hides the blood, also sweat, but today with Deadpool wrapping, it's mostly tears. A giant and forever thanks to the cast and crew of our film who battle wind, rain, strikes, and a real Hugh Jackman, all under the stalwart leadership of Sean Levy. Jackman also penned a post saying this: what a ride, I've loved every minute making this movie. Well, not the training and diet, but the other 93.2%. To the best cast and crew, thank you. You are all aces. The two of my best mates, Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy direct on Twitter. I literally couldn't have done this without you. End of an era right there. So that has gone on. Real quick, we're going to take a brief intermission, a brief little break, and then we'll get back to things.
Send out the ninjas.
Report. The ninjas have been sent. I repeat, the ninjas have been sent. So the Pokemon Company had made an official statement on Palworld saying, we intend to investigate. And by investigate, mean probably destroy. So, yeah. They had said, we have received many inquiries regarding another company's released product in January of 2024. We have not granted any permission for use of the Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on our intellectual property rights related to the Pokemon franchise. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon in its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. And Palworld tried to go ahead and alleviate these things, such as, it's not like Pokemon, it's more like Ark Survival in Valheim than it is actually Pokemon. And also with an interview, Pocket Pair CEO shared the team cleared legal reviewing, and they have been no action taken against the company for infringement, saying, we make our games very seriously, and we have absolutely no intention of infringing upon intellectual property of other companies. And as I mentioned earlier, they are going after and gunning for all the modders who make Pokemon mods. And Nexus Mods even said it will not make a case against it because they don't want to get fired by Nintendo's legal team, so they will not host Pokemon mods. Meanwhile, Microsoft fired 1,900 people from its video game workforce, and reportedly, they shuttered their physical department. Damn it. Though, to be expected, layoffs were sadly going to happen because they acquired Activision Blizzard, and that kind of made a whole bunch of jobs redundant, so I expected this to happen. Meanwhile, Henry Cavill reveals training will begin in earnest for the Highlander reboot. Oh yeah, they're planning to make a Highlander reboot, and they're trying to make a massive shared universe out of it, because of course. Heck, Henry Cavill's also busy working on Warhammer 40,000 cinematic universe because he has to be busy. And yeah. The Highlander reboot is targeting a 2026 release window, with filming on the project set to commence soon, hoping that it will be the first installment of a new franchise set around Connor MacLeod, who discovers he's an immortal when he survives what should have been a fatal stabbing in battle. Duncan MacLeod, Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, and whatnot. So, yeah. Big things for Henry Cavill, the world's greatest video game geek enthusiast, and also Superman, the former DCU Superman, who was going to have a big role in the future, but sadly is not. I'm still aiming for my dream scenario where Henry Cavill is in a Kingdom Come movie as Superman of that era, as a DC Elseworlds film. Come on, let's do it. It's right. The formula is there to set in motion. Also, after everything that has happened with Epic Games and Apple has finally decided to let other companies launch their own storefronts on the App Store as part of their new policy changes, saying Apple's plan to thwart Europe's new Digital Markets Act is a devious new instance of malicious compliance during Tim Sweeney's Epic Talk in January 25th, saying they are forcing developers to choose between App Store exclusivity and the store terms, which will be illegal under DMA and except also illegal anti-competitive. And yeah, bringing that up, Tim Sweeney also destroyed the Epic Games for most part for some people, but yeah. And even Microsoft wants to launch their own mobile games app store that would compete with Apple App Store and Google Play. So yeah, it's good turn. So we're going to get more storefronts that are going to compete for power. And Microsoft, after they had laid off 1,900 people, touted their biggest record achievement yet. We are the second ever $3 trillion corporation. All we had to do was fire 1,900 people and throw them off the streets. Damn. Meanwhile, Tekken 8 came out, and it's been getting a lot of positive reviews. I've seen some of my friends talk about it, praising it, and they love it. I'm not much of a big fighting games fan since I was a young lad playing Mortal Kombat from Midway. So, yeah. Apparently, Tekken 8 has also gotten a massive amount of requests from fans. One of the characters is on the top of the wish list, Tifa from Final Fantasy VII's franchise. And yeah, people have been demanding Tifa, saying she would be perfect, and she would be the perfect guest collab character, and they want her so bad in the game, to the point that even the boss of all things Tekken came out and said, "We all know she is attractive and understand that, but as of yet we have not decided anything about guest characters, etc." And though, to be fair, they have included characters from other franchises in the past, like Akuma from Street Fighter, and indeed Noctis from Final Fantasy 15. So, yeah, Tifa's not much of a stretch. Honestly, I kind of wish there was a fighting game where when they add mods, you can add extra more character slots just to make it more inclusive for modders to add more characters, to the point that you can create the biggest roster in history through a massive game engine. And instead we have Mugen to do it, but I kind of want more modern takes on this instead of the Mugen engine, but it will depend on how things go. Meanwhile, Knives Out 3 is set to reportedly begin filming this year, according to Deadline. So get ready for Knives Out and more mystery action. James Gunn also had to come out and announce that Batman is not in the script for Superman Legacy, because there was a crazy rumor earlier that, yeah, this was a thing going on. So, yeah, there was also that weird rumor that Ryan Gosling had been cast as Batman and whatnot, and yeah, James Gunn was talking to a fan question and then said he can't appear in Superman Legacy. Why? Because he's not in the script. Oh. And now something else came out. Speaking of things that came out, there was apparently a Call of Duty in development once upon a time. That was a canceled Call of Duty game called NX1. It leaked online from one of the former people who worked on it. It was originally going to be, over the weekend on January 29th, a Twitter account user named Manga Figurines published 2 minutes of previously unreleased gameplay of what was reportedly called Call of Duty Future Warfare, showcasing basically a massive battle on the moon. Yes. And got a reply from Brian Bright, who was the multiplayer lead developer on the game at Neversoft. Bright confirmed the footage is from NX1 and explained its origin. It turns out that after the destruction of Infinity War and their formation of Titanfall and Apex Legends developer Respawn Entertainment in 2010, Neversoft ditched the Guitar Hero franchise they had inherited to make a futuristic Call of Duty game of their own. The mission was on the moon, some experiments with low G, and was really about the team learning the engine. We were making Guitar Hero games on our Tony Hawk's Pro Skater engine prior. He added that NX1 would have taken place of Infinity Ward's Ghost, which launched in 2013 as a PS4, Xbox One launch title. Neversoft had completed 2 or 3 campaign missions and some multiplayer work before the sudden cancellation. My response to this is, my God, we're in a world where we're now realizing, my God, you mean we could have gotten something that was actually taking a little bit of more of a risk than Ghost? And we all know how Ghost turned out. And yeah, they didn't have much at the time, and they mentioned more about how they use mainly Modern Warfare 2 assets, and the map allowed for escort mode gameplay where the team would push a large UGV through the map's checkpoints. The UGV had a trophy system on it, and there's even some lists from the maps they had in mind. And then, like I said, Neversoft was eventually absorbed in 2014 to form a super studio with Infinity Ward, and Yeah, the Neversoft brand name, and along with NX1, consigned to the annals of video game history as nothing more than a fun little idea. Honestly, it would have been more interesting than Ghost, probably. Also, the original director, Yoshi Kisuya, I'm pretty sure I failed to pronounce his name correctly, I am still sorry for that, said that a Final Fantasy VI remake would take about 20 years to make. Like, a remake of Final Fantasy VI, much like in the vein of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, would take 20 years, saying, and I'm just confused, but like, why would it take 20 years? Couldn't you just start development now and probably get some prototype working within a year or two, depending on the team, and probably get like 5 years you get something going? So yeah, he talked about how the difficulty behind remaking Final Fantasy VI was elaborated on by the creator, and who said the original game's pixel art and 2D format would make it much more complicated to redo and demanding a complete overhaul of the story and graphics. Okay, but still, I don't know how it could just take 20 years. I'm not a game developer, so I wouldn't know for certain, but that's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. Meanwhile, Madam Web star art Dakota Johnson says it was absolutely psychotic to film with a blue screen. Oh yeah, Madam Web. Yeah, I kind of keep forgetting about this. It's yet another Sony Spider-Man spinoff, and everyone already hates it before it even comes out. So yeah. Meanwhile, Cliff, I can't pronounce his name. He helped create Gears of War. He helped create Gears of War co-creator, and says that they would benefit from his ideas, saying they would bring him to console in the next century if they were smart. And saying I'm down to consult, give my 2 cents, crickets. I understand that Gears will always be an enormous part of my legacy, and I really appreciate and respect that. That said, Microsoft and Coalition hasn't hit me up. Okay, it is what it is. If they were smart, they enlisted me for my input. So yeah. Here's the thing. So he also talked about Palworld and said this: Palworld's success kind of validates my pitch that was turned down on Epic many years ago. A medieval Pokemon with baby dragons instead. My God. Also, Gears of War, last I checked, was still doing pretty damn good, in my honest opinion. I liked Gears 5. I liked the focus on the new female character. You know, a female character that doesn't make me go ahead and have my head get twisted into 100 different knots over the fact that they butchered everything about the source material just to have this work. So, speaking of female characters who are actually compelling, let's get the opposite of that. So Daisy Ridley, who had the honor of playing Rey, oh god. So here's my take. Daisy Ridley does not deserve the hate she got. She's an actress. She didn't have much of the creative say-how that Sigourney Weaver would have if she was playing in a big role, considering how Alien 3 went with the whole no guns policy, because a fake gun in a movie is clearly equivalent to a real gun in the real world. Though, of course, Alec Baldwin did get in trouble for that whole fiasco, and I don't know how that even happened. Even though the FBI's handling of this was, in my honest opinion, completely butchered. So, okay, so she came out and talked about how the sequel controversies were still upsetting, and she says the whole parentage stuff was beyond my pay grade. Absolutely understandable. She defends the stuff that happened in the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, and my response was like, I get it. She had no say in this matter. In fact, if I recall, she said in an interview about a little bit after The Rise of Skywalker came out that she was constantly being told weeks and weeks that, oh, you're a Kenobi, no, you're a Skywalker, no, you're a Palpatine, and whatnot. And it's like, they didn't come to a decision until well into filming, it seemed. So they had no plan. Way to go. They didn't even have... Like, here's the thing. I'm not saying George Lucas had the entire 6 Star Wars films completely planned out. In fact, it kept changing a lot. But for the original trilogy, he had a clear 1, 2, 3 type of step. Like, he had... Okay, Luke... like, we have Vader entering the ship in the intimidating cloak and everything, and the intimidating armor and everything, and we ended with Vader throwing the Emperor down the tube. Everything else, we can make up as we go, or we can have some planned out. And instead, Disney's response to this was, okay, we got this. Okay, that's all the work we had to do. And then they kept getting in, then I still believe they kept interfering with the productions because they were like, we can't make anything related to the prequels. Everyone hates the prequels, right? Okay. And I'm just saying, well, not for long after this. So yeah, I feel sorry for Daisy really having to go through all this. Even an interview came out where where it was revealed she was having holes in her stomach wall because of the anxiety of playing a character in the iconic trend-setting franchise that is Star Wars. And this was when the Last Jedi came out, so I'm pretty sure it got worse. And yeah. And now she's going to play again as the character, further proving that the sequel trilogy is going to remain canon. Thus, I have no desire or interest in the franchise, so fuck that. Meanwhile, the Embracer Group reportedly cancels a Deus Ex video game as layoffs hit Eidos Montreal. Boo! 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 Well, there goes that dream. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, the guy who destroyed Twitter for the most part, and replaced it with X and then renamed it to X Corp because Disney's not going to sue him, right? 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 So anyways, that happened, and he announced that our Neuralink has installed its first brain-computer interface into the head of a human being. Saying the first human received an implant from Neuralink yesterday and is recovering well. Initial results show promising neuron spike detection. So what happens if the power goes off? Yeah. So also, thieves were caught on camera stealing 35,000 Pokemon cards. I'm not kidding. And get mocked by the store staff. Because that's a logical conclusion to do. How? I'm curious as to know how. So, while the store staff were obviously upset by the theft, they also found look to make it fun by sharing an edited video for the break-in that pokes fun at the culprits, saying, "We do have a sense of humor, so it was really silly to see them crawling. We also take bad time and find a little humor in it. There's not much we can do right now, so there's no point in moping over what, so might as well make people laugh. Aww. So naturally, humanity will hate it. There's no such thing as jokes anymore. Yeah, we live in a post-joke world." Meanwhile, Destiny 2 in February of this month is set to do a collaboration with Mass Effect. Cool. I'm somehow not interested because I stopped playing Destiny 2 or because everything got so overly complicated. And Kurt Russell explains why he didn't voice Solid Snake in Metal Gear. Saying when it was responding to rumors that he was offered the role, saying in the Escape from New York and the Thing actor spilled the beans during an interview with GQ, saying, "I'm a movie guy," and adding that for him, it's important to work on new characters rather than trying to provide new takes on old ones. There have been many different times when people wanted to do something. I don't know. I'm a movie guy. You've got to understand that. From my point of view, whether it's Elvis or Snake Plissken or Jack Burton or R.G. McReady, that's a real name. That was the project. That was the thing. You get into that mindset, you create that. You want to make that world happen. And Solid Snake and Big Boss were inspired by Russell's Escape from New York character, Snake Plissken, but the similarities don't stop with the eye patches and hair. Outside being a walking homage to the 80s action character, references to his name and quotes from the show can be littered throughout the entire franchise. So... he also explained why he turned down roles that build off previously established characters, saying, "That's not written by John Carpenter, that doesn't seem right." Saying, "I wasn't interested in expanding financially off of something that we had created or that I had to create in terms of characters. I get business people, sure, we could do this with that and we could do this with that. I look at it and go, that's not written by John Carpenter. It's not right. It doesn't smell right. John's not here to do this with. I'm not going to do it. So let's go do something new. Let's go do something fresh. Let's go create another iconic character rather than saying, what can we bleed off of this iconic character?" I see. And Kojima's already gone from Metal Gear, so it's probably awkward to even talk about it now. And yeah, it's a sad thing to hear about this kind of stuff. Corporate politics is the most complicated thing in history. And I will never understand this whole nature. But yeah, we're going to take another brief intermission. We'll be back after these messages. We'll be back after this short little clip joke. Be back.
We need to keep moving.
We're back. So, everyone remembers Spec Ops The Line? Yeah, that game that involved very, 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 very dark stuff about the nature of warfare. Well, it's disappearing from online storefronts for good due to expiring partnerships. Damn, it even got delisted from Steam. So, yeah. Oh man, it sucks. That's a horrifically driven psychological thriller right there that critiqued the genre and it's going away. Tragic. So, Kevin Conroy died in 2022, much to the sadness of every Batman fan and every actor who loved the guy and every fan who loved his work. He voiced Batman in Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, the final farewell to the Caped Crusader of the Arkham universe, and was then killed in the most unceremonious way possible, as if it was to say it was complete hatred. So, yeah, while Kill the Justice League is indeed his final video game appearance as the iconic character, there's actually two more. Well, not really two more. Apparently, there was plans to put him in the Batman story of Batman Caped Crusader by Bruce Timm, and they didn't plan to have him voice something in the show. He died before it could come up. However, it is confirmed that Kevin Conroy voiced Bruce Wayne Batman for Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 3. And not just any Batman, but the Batman that started it all. The Batman from the animated series. One last fight for the DC animated universe. One last hurrah. Looks like we're going to see the end of an era for us, folks. His big break came from playing Batman in the animated series. His legacy will end with Batman the animated series. Farewell, Cape Crusader, for you are the knight. Meanwhile, Destiny 2 director is stepping down after the release of the final shape, which had suffered from a delay. So that sucked. He announced that he's leaving, and yeah, he'll be stepping down after June. And Blackburn, who among other things has served as Destiny's lead raid designer, says the time has come to pass the torch as he heads on a new adventure outside the walls of Bungie. And skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty has been the hottest of topics within the Call of Duty community, some proclaiming it ruins the experience, others saying quite the opposite. In a blog post, it was stated that starting the conversation about matchmaking in Call of Duty, Activision pulled back the curtain on skill-based matchmaking for the first time and gave plenty of players to chew on. According to Activision, Call of Duty does consider skill, more specifically player performance, as a component of matchmaking, but skill is not the dominant variable. Top of the tree, Activision said, is connection. Ping is king. Connection is the most critical and heavily weighted factor in the matchmaking process. Second is time to match, and joint third are playlist diversity, race and mask mode, skills, performance, input device, platform, and whatever you have voice chat on and off. These factors have resulted in a process in which we believe provides the best player experience and creates a stronger community for Call of Duty worldwide. It just doesn't fix our terrible business culture. Let's hope that's been changing since they got rid of Bobby Kotick. Hurrah! That was a great day in December. Meanwhile, Westworld Star says she still doesn't know how the canceled show would have ended because Warner Bros. Discovery likes to piss everyone off. Even Rachel Wood has revealed that HBO abruptly canceled the show before she got to find out how it would have ended, leaving her to ponder what the creators had planned for the ultimate finale. Yes, they actually had a final season ready. The 5th season was going to be the end, and yeah. And there was going to be a human extinction type event going ahead, and they said that after figures showed declining rates between the 2nd and 3rd seasons, they canceled the 5th season, even though it was the last goddamn season, and we could have just ended it there and moved on with our lives. But now we're left with a ongoing fate of a human extinction up in the air, and we'll never get an answer unless the creators come out and decide to blow a few whistles. Meanwhile, Seth MacFarlane came out and has asserted that the Fox animated comedy is surviving and thriving and not likely to end anytime soon. Boo! 25 years of this. Obsidian, meanwhile, likes to go ahead and announce that we will not be allowing Avowed to have romantical companions. Damn. Well, it looks like no one's gonna have their moments in the sun. Oh man, they actually gave an interview about it. Avowed game director came out and said that we are building thoughtful relationships with our companion characters. Ultimately, personally, I'm a fan of making that an option, but I feel like if you're going to do it, you really have to commit and make sure that you're giving all to the fulfilling in that in a way that feels both true to the character, but also creates an engaging player experience. So it's not something we're doing for Avowed, but I wouldn't say never. And pointing out that having a dedicated romance system in a story-focused game is a ton of work. You need options of both fulfilling romance as well as regular friendship for those who don't want to go down that path. In addition, players generally expect multiple romance options, and expectations around the depth of such relationships only seem to be climbing higher and higher with each new video game's characters introduced. Especially with Baldur's Gate 3 afterwards. It's a bit ask, and it's also not a necessary one if the story of the game doesn't lend itself to romance in the first place. Later on, the director hinted that at the ways in which Avowed's non-romantic companion relationship could possibly manifest. Thus far, the studio has been given multiple nods on how players' choices will impact the world around them. Most notably showing this out during a quest in the latest Xbox Developer Direct. The interview went ahead and chatted about it and talked about the romantic setup plots that were not going to happen. So we'll see how Avowed goes. If they cut that out for good reasons, we'll see. Like even let's see, the Outworlds game by Obsidian didn't have romance, so understandably, or Fallout New Vegas, or Fallout 3 sort of had a romance going on. They more like alluded to it, but never really showed it. So yeah, not all RPG games have the romance stuff. Meanwhile, Denis Villeneuve thinks he will stop with Dune Messiah, script still being written. Saying Dune Messiah should be the last Dune movie for me, saying it's a bold choice given where Messiah takes the mythology, but makes it a lot of sense from a narrative perspective. If you've never read the later Dune novels, just know they got weird. Yes, like a giant worm being a god for centuries. And a ruler. Yeah. Saying that the screenplay is almost finished, it will just take a little bit more time. Congrats, man. You might have finally done the impossible. You made an adaptable Dune film. So, during the official State of Play reveal, Silent Hill, the short message, released on that day, January 31st. And, yeah, it can now be playable. Not only that, V Rising is coming to PS5 this year during their State of Play announcement. It was released in early access on Steam in 2022, set in an open world. V Rising has players controlling a vampire who recently woke up and tasked with venturing across the world and defeating bosses, feeding on the blood of enemy NPCs, and avoiding hazards that would kill your character, such as direct sunlight. Following its release in early access, it was close to hitting 50,000 players on its first concurrent day, and as of May 2022, they had sold 1.5 million copies. So it's coming to PS5 in this year during their State of Play event, and along with that, they announced that there will be a remaster of Until Dawn for PS5 and PC, along with a release window was given. I'm gonna be real. I don't think it needed that. An upgrade, yes, but still. Yeah. Yeah, man. Meanwhile, Death Stranding 2 story and gameplay was revealed in an extended trailer, along with Hideo Kojima announcing that he's returning to the self-genre of an action espionage game for PlayStation. Hooray! I wonder how you're going to make a game that's going to rival or surpass Metal Gear. Like, Konami just need to screw up on their end and he'll be fine, so good. And the iconic 28 Days Later, 28 weeks, the iconic 28 Days Later is now going to get a sequel film. 28 years later. No idea if it will be directed by so Alex Garland, who's also writing a very controversial film, and Danny Boyle will return to write and direct the whole film and will return to the project in a sequel. Boyle will direct 28 years later, but it is yet to be confirmed whether he will direct the follow-up, while Garland is set to write the scripts for both films. Colin Murphy, who played the character Jim in 28 Days Later, is tied to the project and will serve as an executive producer. However, he may also act in the project as well. Murphy, who also starred in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, previously expressed interest in reprising his role should a third film be made. My God. And we got some more Netflix stuff going on. So not only after I had mentioned that Netflix's Marvel shows have been re-added to the MCU continuity, it was announced that Kristen Ritter hints that Jessica Jones returning and suggesting she could make an appearance in Daredevil Born Again. Yay! So, showing that she published an Instagram video showing her wearing the same shirt as Jessica Jones with the caption, "I know, you know. If you know, you know," and a winking emoji. So if she's back, that's going to be freaking awesome. And last but not least, to top things off, they have announced that since they have recanonized the Netflix side of the MCU, Marvel Studios may be developing an Iron Fist project. One of the rumors from this whole thing, Danny Rand was played by Game of Thrones act alumni Finn Jones, and he said he would love to come back and finish the storylines of the Netflix show for the MCU. And last we checked at the last season of Iron Fist, they had given Colleen Wing the power of the Iron Fist along with him. And here was my take. You can have both. There's been reports that they might have a female lead for the Iron Fist, and I was like, well, wouldn't that make sense to have Colleen Wing return because she wants to come back? She even turned down a role in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. So why not just have her be the new Iron Fist while Danny Rad's off doing something fuck all investigating something? Like, you have it. You have the foundation to work with, so just do it. Do it! Do it! So we'll see about how that goes. But yep, it's good to be back on this. I'm hoping to do more. I also got more editorial videos being produced for the Neo Reality Collective channel on YouTube, so be sure to check that out. Thanks for the new intro and outro. You'll find the guy's service in the link in the description and on Fiverr. It's just great. We'll see y'all again next time. Peace and take care, and I'll see y'all again. Peace.
And that was our latest edition of Neo Reality Collective. Be sure to follow and support NRE creator Eric Brown on Twitter and YouTube. Check the links in the description below, and we'll see you all next time.